Well, hello, and welcome back to another podcast episode with Brittney Bundles. You are listening to the Brittney Bundles podcast, where we empower people through entrepreneurship. And today I want to say a happy new year to all of you. This is the first podcast episode of the year. I am super excited to be back here. I do want to just go over a little bit of information before we hop right in. So I encourage you all to stay up to date with the podcast schedule on my website at keepingupwithbrittney.com. Okay, that is keepingupwithbrittney, BRITTNEY.com. My calendar and some other good information is all available on that website. Also on that website, I do have a nonprofit. I will be going into further depth as to information and events that the nonprofit will be hosting. I encourage you all to follow my nonprofit Instagram page at Leveled Women. Okay, that is Leveled, LEVELED WOMEN. Okay, so Leveled Women. Be sure to follow that nonprofit page because it is empowerment for women as a total. Okay, all right. And another thing that I want to go over is please check in to this podcast link on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or the Podcasters app, because I'm not going to post every single podcast on YouTube. So not every podcast episode is going to be featured on my YouTube channel at Brittney Bundles. So if you are wanting to stay up to date with the podcast schedule and different apps that you can hear the podcast on, be sure to go to my website, keepingupwithbrittney.com, and enroll in that mailing list. And that way you don't have to keep going back to the website to get any updates on schedules or any updates on any other events or just any other events that I'm partaking in. You'll be able to get all that information sent right to you, along with some good information on how to generate mobile money, some trending affiliate links, and some just good information all in all. So with that being said, I just wanted to kind of get that out there before we started with the podcast topic. Today, we're going to be talking about what you believe needs work to achieve. Okay. So I think vision boards are great, right? You know, creating this, board full of your goals and your aspirations and what you can visualize happening in your life is amazing. But I was reading somewhere where people did this study and they were saying that in some circumstances, vision boards, they noticed that a certain percentage of people actually did worse with vision boards because they weren't really putting the work behind the vision. They were creating the vision board because it was trending. They were creating the vision board because they thought it was a cool thing to do, but they really weren't creating any strategy. They weren't doing any planning to help them achieve the visions that they put on this board. So I thought about that. And what I took away from that is the fact that, yes, vision boards are great, but I am in agreement that there needs to be a plan with a vision, okay? And so we know that a lot of us don't just happen upon success. A lot of us just don't happen up and, up upon our business and generate revenue just by mistake. A lot of things that we do that produce revenue, that brings us to our level of success, that moves us toward our goals and actually knocking down our goals, our strategies that we put in place, sometimes trial and error, but nevertheless, there's still strategies and plans that we put in place to reach certain results. And so I want to talk about that today. It's a new year. It's a new chance to kind of reset, reflect back on some of the patterns and some of the decisions that we've made in terms of business and our overall life, and decide what worked and what really didn't, and what we can do to have a better outcome this time around. So before we get into the podcast, I am going to ask that you share it. Like I say all the time, sharing the podcast, it not only helps to grow the podcast, but it does help to promote businesses and entrepreneurs that have been on this podcast before. If you are friends with an entrepreneur, If you know someone that is interested in getting in business, I ask that you share the podcast with them. You can turn on the podcast while you're riding in the car. You can go ahead and share it via social media. You can share it via email, share it via text message. You can send the link. Any way you want to share, please go ahead and be creative and share the podcast. I really appreciate it. I'll give you all a moment to do that, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right. So welcome back. Like I said before, I appreciate you all sharing the podcast. It really helps in so many ways. Today we're talking about what you believe needs work to achieve. The first point that I have outlined is visualizing goals are great. Okay, it keeps us reminded of our goals. It helps us to remain positive, and it also helps us to remain focused in some aspects for some of us, right? I remember working at a certain job. It was something in sales. I've been in sales all my life. And, when we had some of our sales meetings, a lot of times we would have different people that would come in, motivational speakers, sales experts, and they would talk about some things that we could do to keep us motivated and to help us ultimately sell better and make more money for the organization. And so one thing that we would get coached to doing is to make our cubicles feel as homey as they possibly could feel, right? They would coach us to bring in different pictures and coach us to bring in posters, coach us to bring in knickknacks on our desks that resemble what it is we were working towards. And they would sometimes go as far as doing like a show and tell type of setup where they had like an open forum and they would ask certain people to share what it is they are or they were working for. Why are you coming to work every day? What motivates you? And some people would say, my kids motivate me. And they would say, okay, well, I'm looking for something. We know our kids are motivating us. We know you're going to work so you can pay your bills, but what are your dreams? Do you have a dream car or a dream house? And so a lot of times the people that they were talking to would say, yeah, I do. My dream car is a Ferrari. And so they would ask them to print out a picture and post it up on their wall. And they would share some story about someone that wanted an expensive car or an expensive house and how they were able to achieve it so that we could know that, hey, this dream is obtainable. It's not something that's too far out of reach if I put my mind to it. And a lot of times when they got to me, I would kind of feel nervous because I'm like, yeah, Ferrari would be nice. Yes, a mansion would be nice, but that's not why I come to work. I came to work because I needed to provide, right? And I knew that what I really wanted in life was the freedom, but more than a Ferrari, more than a mansion. I wanted the freedom to be able to do exactly what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And there wasn't really a picture that I could print out to describe that. There wasn't really like a picture of something. And I was going to say, when I explain this, the motivational speakers or the trainers would say, hey, why don't you print out a picture of the beach? And I'm thinking like, well, the beach doesn't really symbolize freedom for me. I'm not looking for a vacation. I'm not working for a certain, to take a trip to a certain beach or a certain place. I really want the lifestyle of not having to get up and going to work at a place that I really don't want to be at. Okay. And I couldn't really say all of that, but I was thinking that, so I would say some of it, but I would keep a lot of it to myself. But one thing that I took from that is everyone has a reason as to what they're doing. Okay. And if you focus on what it is you're doing, that's great. It keeps you motivated. But I had to ask myself, I was wondering, hey, are these trainers motivating me because they really want me to reach this level of freedom where I'm not working at their company and I'm doing my own thing? Or are they telling me to print this out so that I can work harder with really no plan as to how I'm going to achieve this goal besides doing what they told me to do to make more money for them? And of course, we got bonuses, but the bonuses that we got, to be honest, they weren't enough to purchase a Ferrari out the door. They weren't enough to purchase a mansion out the door, at least not the mansions that I saw people printing out. And so I started thinking to myself, what was the reason for telling us this? What was the reason for saying this type of information? So the conclusion that I came to is A lot of times the trainers and the motivational speakers that were there, they were there to do their job, which was to produce better workers for the corporation, to in turn make more money for the company. Their goal wasn't to make sure that we achieved our goal. And so although we put these posters on our desk and we printed out what we wanted, what we were working toward, we didn't have any plan. The only strategy that they gave us was how we could make more money for the company. So right after they got done with the motivational speaking, they would come in and they would have different sheets and, different quotas that we needed to meet by a certain day and the bonus amount that we could possibly potentially make, right? And so it is really important for anything to have a plan and not just a picture, because if you just have a picture or just have a board full of visions, but you don't have the plan to go with it, that's in most circumstances exactly where it will remain: a vision, a dream. And there are so many people that have left this earth with dreams, with goals, with aspirations, and no plan or effort to get toward them. And so I don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to live my life wishing that I would have gone after one of my dreams, wishing that I would have gone after my visions instead of looking at them. All right. So don't get me wrong. Visualizing goals are great. Helps us to keep our goals in the forefront of our mind. Helps us to remain positive. And a lot of times it helps us to remain focused. Which brings me to my second point. But there also needs to be an intentional plan outlining how to achieve the goals we have. Okay, so let's just say on my vision board, I have Bad Chick Hair, my hair company. I have my credit repair business. I have pictures of what I'm working on with my children. I have pictures of Leveled Women, my nonprofit, and I have all of these different goals. Okay, and I have all of these different pictures that align with the goals that I have for each entity of my life. And I'm looking at this picture and I'm getting excited, but I know in my heart that I really don't know even where to start, because a lot of times we don't make the plans for our business, not because we don't want to, but because we feel overwhelmed, because we don't even know where the heck to start. Where do I start with creating these plans? What business do I start with? What idea do I go with? What vision am I going to start with? Okay. So for me, what I've done is I like to create plans, okay, goals for my life. And if I narrow those goals down to 12 months and then to monthly and then weekly and daily, it really helps me put everything back into focus. It puts everything into a clearer picture for me as to how I'm going to obtain what it is I'm visualizing, how I'm going to reach my dreams. So I challenge each of you, if you have created a vision board, or if you're thinking about creating a vision board, or if you don't do vision boards, if you still have your goals in mind, write down your goals this year, break them down. Okay, your 5-year goals, let's break them down to 12 months. What can I do? What am I looking at? Where should I be in 12 months? And then breaking that goal down into monthly goals, breaking those monthly goals down into weekly goals, breaking those weekly goals down into daily goals. So if I'm looking at making a certain amount of money for my business, I want to make sure that I'm getting traffic, whether it's a brick and mortar location or whether it's an online business or both. And I want to have goals. So how much traffic do I need to get each month to earn or to have this amount of money that I'm looking to make each month? And depending on different sale projections and your sale history, you can go back and look at your analytics if that's available for you. You can kind of gauge a plan as to what you're going to shoot for and what's going to work for you. For example, on my website, I've seen some months where I didn't get that much traffic and my numbers in sales correlated with that. And so I have to be more intentional on directing more traffic to my website. A lot of times it's just kind of getting back to the basics. So then asking myself, how am I going to direct more traffic to my website? How am I going to intentionally market to get buyers, potential buyers to my site? And what am I going to market? Because I have a lot of different products and services. So it's all about narrowing it down and being able to get back to our target audience and being able to create these plans that are going to get us closer to our goals. Because it's easy to say, yeah, my goal is to make X amount of dollars. But when you ask someone, how are you going to do that? Sometimes they'll say things like, well, I'm just going to promote more. But if you break that promote more down, how are you going to promote more? What does that look like? What work needs to go into it? Okay. And we want to really sit down and create a strategy that is going to bring us closer to actually achieving our goals, because I want to see everyone achieve their goals. And more than getting inspired off of our visions, I want us to not just get inspired, because there are so many entrepreneurs that have been inspired and it just stayed there. Their business idea stayed there, and inspiration and their dreams. But I want your dreams to become your reality. So how can we do that? And again, what do you need to do? Everyone's daily task should look different because everyone's goals are different. So create that intentional plan. I do still offer business consultations. If you're interested in a consultation where I will assist you with creating a tailored action plan to achieve your goals, reach out to me. You can reach out to me via email. I give my email at the end of the podcast. You can reach out to me on any of my platforms. I give that information at the end of the podcast as well. But not even me, just me. There's tons of videos out there on YouTube. Utilize your resources. There's tons of information out there on Facebook. Tons of information in the library on sales. Tons of information in different groups, locally as well. So kind of getting out there and figuring out what it is you want to do first. What are your goals first? And then for each vision that you have, for each stream, create a plan. Break those goals down so that you can create a plan and have a daily action plan that's going to move you closer to it. The next thing that I want to go over is writing a detailed plan for your year and holding yourself accountable. So like I mentioned a minute ago, what does your year look like for every aspect of your life? What do you want this year to produce? Okay, what do you want to show at the end of this year? When you get to 2024 and it's December, what do you want to look back and say you did? What do you want to say you accomplished? And so when you figure that out, again, writing down our goals and our plans as to how we're going to get where we need to get. If you know that one of your biggest challenges is having enough energy to actually be able to complete your business task. You may say, hey, at the end of my day, when I'm home, I am too tired to even think about what I'm going to do for my business. I work, I have my children, I'm married, I do extracurricular sports with my children, I'm on this committee and that committee, and I just don't have the time, and I'm tired, but I still want these visions for my business to come true. What can I do? Everything needs to be in alignment, okay? And that may mean that some things may have to, I don't want to say be put on the back burner, but you have to figure out what's important to you and what's a priority to you. And honestly, you have to sometimes make those tough decisions as to what's going to stay and what's going to go. For me, I noticed that when I exercise more, I have more energy. So I have to incorporate that in, even if I don't feel like doing it. I'm not exercising for a certain body type, but I know that when I exercise, I have more energy. I know that it's healthy for my body. Also, increasing my water intake. All of these things can contribute to the success of your business. When you're taking care of yourself, when you have everything in alignment, you're able to think better. And when you think better, you produce better. And when you produce better, you're able to reach your goals more effortlessly, okay? More seamlessly. Not saying there's no effort that goes into it, but it happens so much more efficiently than when you're not taking care of yourself. So write yourself a detailed plan, even down to your increasing your water intake if it needs to be, even down to increasing your rest, down to eliminating some things from your life that really shouldn't be there. The next thing that I want to go over is be mindful of how close you are to your goals and where improvements are needed. So once we have all of this written down as far as our tailored strategies and what we're going to do each day, we also want to be mindful of what's working. So let's say that we try something. We write down these action steps, and we're trying these action steps for 3 months, and we're like, you know what? I don't know. I'm not moving closer to my goals. Like, I'm not reaching my website traffic numbers. I'm not reaching my monthly sales. I have not reached the amount of people that I'm looking to reach for my newsletters. Okay. Being able to look at that, not get discouraged, and figure out what you're going to do differently so that you can continue to move closer to your goals. All right, I've tried this did not work, so now I'm going to try to market this way. Now I'm going to try to increase my presence on this platform. Now I'm going to go to this event. I'm going to put myself out there more in this way. So trying, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we get discouraged because we run out of things to do. And we're like, we've done everything and it's not working. But just when you think you've done everything, there's something else that you haven't thought of. And that's why it's so important to be around people that understand going after their dreams. Because you may talk or have just a simple conversation with someone, and they may say something that changes your whole perspective of how you've been marketing. They may say something that gives you a whole different take on how you can build your brand online. They may give you something or an idea that can help you with increasing your website traffic just like that. So it's important that we are connecting with people that are on the same path as we are. We don't have to have people around us that's going to be yes man, but we want to have people around us that are going to keep us encouraged, that are moving toward their goals, and that have resources and information that they can contribute and we can learn from, just as well as we can teach people that are wanting to and willing to learn from us. So be mindful of how close you are to your goals. If you're knocking your goals down, being able to say, yes, this is working. Okay, cool. Yeah. And being able to share when it's your time to share. Hey, this worked for me. This really got my business back on track. This kept my business on track. This keeps me excelling my numbers. This keeps me reaching more people while being aware of what needs to be improved. The last thing that I want to talk about is make this year as successful as you choose. I don't think that we realize how much power we hold as far as how our life is going to turn out. Every day we get up and we get a choice as to what we're going to do. We get a choice as to how we're going to operate, who we're going to communicate with, what areas in our life we're going to give more attention to. And based on the decisions that we make, we were able to see the fruits of those decisions. And so our businesses are going to be as successful as we allow them to be, or as unsuccessful as we allow them to be. A business takes work. And contrary to what people promote on social media, being in business isn't going to be glamorous all the time. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, even working at this job, people were having aspirations of, okay, I just want to go to work to get this mansion. And that's fine if that's what you're working toward. But I do recommend getting into an avenue where achieving a mansion and achieving a Ferrari isn't your ultimate goal. Because like I said, my ultimate goal has always been freedom. And my goal by no means should it be everyone's goal. But I'm saying that if you get so wrapped up in tangible things like, okay, I couldn't buy this car this year, or I didn't get to buy this house this year. Sometimes we can lose focus on what our overall mission for our business is. When I got in business, I also, besides wanting to provide for my children and make sure that we had a comfortable lifestyle, I also wanted people to know that there is another way to earn money. And when I saw that any business, but I saw it firsthand, business can be unpredictable and it can be unstable in income. I knew immediately that I had to incorporate other things with selling hair so that I wouldn't be in a position where I'm facing repossession or an eviction. I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable, And so multiple streams of income, it's more than being able to say I have income. It's more than being able to hop online and talk about what I do, but it's the comfort in knowing that I have money coming from different aspects. I have money coming from different areas, doing what it is I enjoy doing. And for me, I only can speak for myself, that outweighs any of the monetary things that I can ever buy. That supersedes it. I never got into business, and I'm just at this point just talking about me personally, to be the richest person that I knew. I just, like I said, I wanted that freedom to be able to do what it is I had in my heart and make money by doing it. Now, there's money to be made, but you have to apply yourself, and you have to know going in that just because you see people showing money doesn't mean that that's all business is about. Because I'm telling you, people aren't showing all the details of their business all the time. You have down moments. And even once you hit one of your goals, it does not mean that you won't have another down moment. It doesn't mean that you won't have a month where you're making less than you anticipated. It doesn't mean that at all. So when people ask, hey, should I get into selling hair just for money? I would say if you're looking for an area just for money, maybe looking into like investments. But if you're going to create a business from the ground up, I want you to go into it with the right expectation, that sometimes you don't know what to expect. But that does not mean that you shouldn't keep the dream alive and keep your vision if this is something that you're passionate about, because money can be made in almost every field, every area. But besides the money, it's the person behind the business, or the people behind the business, that really puts the life into it, that allows that business to keep on succeeding and reaching people and meeting needs and exceeding expectations. And so we want to keep that in the forefront of our mind. It's easier for me to reach my goals knowing the people that I'm helping when I reach my goals. It's easier for me to stay committed knowing that I have an option to do what I want to do when I want to do it, And so everyone needs to decide what their goal is. What is your driving force? And be able to create a plan that's going to actually get you there each day. And that's all I have. That's really all I have. So again, I want to thank you all for tuning in to this podcast episode. I don't know if this episode will be on YouTube or not at Brittney Bundles, but I do want to let you all know that every episode going forward for credit repair, and also for this podcast, the Brittney Bundles podcast, won't be on YouTube. Some of the podcast episodes will, but not every single one. So I really recommend that you all go to my website at keepingupwithbrittney.com, enroll in that mailing list, and also follow this platform, my podcast platform, the Brittney Bundles podcast, on Instagram, okay? You can follow on Instagram at Brittney Bundles _podcast. That is Brittney, BRITTNEY, Bundles, BUNDLES, _podcast, PODCAST. You can also follow me on YouTube at Brittney Bundles. You can follow me on Facebook, Brittney Bundles. X, formerly known as Twitter, is on Brittney Bundles, or at Brittney Bundles, excuse me. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I will talk to you all in the next podcast episode.